1027 Business with Michael Avery.
Well, many of us are still fuming at the decisions that went against the Boks on the field against the British and Irish Lions. For many more South Africans, the odds are permanently stacked even more heavily against them succeeding. We've got the world's highest inequality. We've got a 12% adult illiteracy rate, a 13% HIV prevalence, and 20 to 30 million of South Africa's 59 million population are food insecure, as well as record unemployment. Well, in the game of life, we are truly stronger together, and I think few understand that better than former Bok captain and now head of philanthropy at Citadel, Jean de Villiers. Jean, welcome to Hot Business.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Thanks for having me on the show.
And philanthropy is really something that's very close to our heart here at HOT. We've got the HOT Cares Foundation, and we're trying to do our bit. We're trying to feed 1 million people in the wake of the riots in KZN. Just how important is it for South Africans to start thinking about philanthropy at a time like this?
Yeah, it's critically important. And I think, with the history of South Africa and where we find ourselves, philanthropy is kind of always, philanthropy / charitable giving has always kind of been part of it. But I think the way that we've approached it in the past have changed significantly. And I think the way that we see it currently is that if a more strategic approach is being used to give, then hopefully the impact that you can create will be so much better also. So, we've got so many issues that we need to deal with on a daily basis in South Africa, and it's probably a lot of those probably will never be properly solved. But I think it's the responsibility of all of us that if you're in a position to be able to help someone else, then you have to do that, because we call this country in South Africa our home, and we want it to get better. But if you're not doing anything about it, then it won't change and it won't get better, and then you're actually part of the problem.
There's a great quote about being the one who lights the candle in the darkness rather than just adding to the continued darkness. Now, I think when we talk about philanthropy or charitable giving, it's about structuring this in a way that's slightly more sustainable than saying, right, I'm just going to take 10 Rand out my wallet when I can and I see someone on the side of the road. You really want to have an impact here. So how does one go about structuring this in one's portfolio, in one's day-to-day, to ensure that you've got a longer-term impact?
Yeah, look, I think you've hit it on the nail on the head there. In terms of structuring it, making it part of your financial planning as such. Obviously, Citadel being a wealth management business, our core business clients is sort of one end of the spectrum, but there's responsibility for us as a business to look at the other part of the spectrum as well. Those that do not have disposable income, that do not have a meal every day, and how do we help them? So I think what we're trying to promote from our client base is to say, well, the same way that you look at your, I suppose, your investments and your financial planning over a year period, charitable giving needs to be part of that conversation, needs to fit in there somewhere where you can allocate a certain amount on a yearly basis to give to some organization that you feel passionate about. And then it's about how you structure that, how you make sure that it is beneficial from a tax point of view, and then align that with the financial needs of that organization that you are supporting. So as you mentioned, I always actually use that example of when you stop with your car at a traffic light and there's a guy begging for money, you might give him a 5 Rand or 10 Rand, and tomorrow you stop at the same light and he's there again asking for the same. And it's, in a way you're helping him for a day, but how can we solve that problem so that he does not have to stand there anymore and not have to beg every single day for a couple of rands? And I think that's the difference, in that it needs to be more structured, it needs to be more strategic, and it needs to be more thoughtful in terms of how you put it together.
It's such a good point. And someone put it to me on a panel I was hosting on Business Day TV the other day that, we're helping now in the wake of the riots, and it's needed. People need food and they need it desperately. But hunger is one of those things that you tend to need to eat. every day. And so while you may help in the short term, what we need are more longer term sustainable interventions. So how do you approach this at Citadel Philanthropy and the foundation? If people approach, if a family says, right, Jean, sit us down, what are the options in terms of structuring this far more sustainably?
Yeah, there's a couple of options, and the Citadel Philanthropy Foundation was formulated to do exactly that. A lot of people want to give, a lot of people have the means to give, but they don't have the time, and they're involved in a business that's generating the wealth that they have currently. So, and they don't want the admin of a specific foundation, their own foundation. So the Citadel Philanthropy Foundation was formulated basically as a conduit PBO, a public benefit organization, where you can make donations into that entity, and it then forms a mini foundation for that individual or for that family inside of the Citadel Philanthropy Foundation. We take care of the admin. We can issue a Section 18A certificate to that person or family that donated, so they get the tax benefit. And then we can match them up with organizations that we've already done due diligence on at the back end. And we kind of match the two. And then we work out the financial management and the financial structure, and make the donations when need be to that organization. So a CPF, or Citadel Philanthropy Foundation, is not an entity where we just want to build up money inside of the foundation, and it doesn't get to the actual need out there. But we're just structuring it better, making sure that whilst the money is in there, it's being looked after, and that it can actually grow. And when it eventually goes to the end beneficiaries, it's more than what was initially donated. So that's the one part. Then we can also help with formulating a standalone foundation, a traditional foundation, with the fiduciary services that we have within Citadel. But there again, there's extra cost to set that up. You need to employ people to actually run that foundation, and extra admin that goes with that. And for some people, they just don't want that. For some people that are big enough and that has really big ambitions, that's the solution and the way to go for them. But those are basically the two ways that we can help. And I suppose at the end of the day, we really try and help as much as we can in this space in the non-profit sector, because we feel it is our responsibility. There aren't any added fees involved with this or anything like that. It's a way where we can tap into the resources and the network and the people that we have within Citadel and apply that in the non-profit sector to hopefully create change and really create impact.
Jean, and we've all watched Chasing the Sun and that fantastic documentary, and we know what Rossi told his team when he was coaching them at the World Cup, that they're playing without pressure, because real pressure is not having a job, not having food. People in South Africa on the ground understand what real pressure is, and it was an inspired bit of leadership. That what sort of culture is there inside this team, and was it there when you were part of the Springbok setup to want to inspire and also be aware of that extra responsibility on the Springbok shoulders?
Yeah, I think, Michael, and I just wanted to touch on something that you mentioned before I get to actually answering the question, in that, where we're living in and what we're living in at the moment in South Africa. We speak about that thoughtful process and strategic process and creating long-term change, but sometimes it's the need now as well. And in a COVID environment with the riots going on the last couple of weeks as well, there's always space for that ad hoc giving as well. But that's why I think it's important to have almost like a 80-20 approach with that, where 80% of the money you allocate, goes to creating long-term change and really solving an issue. And then sometimes, there's that bit of spare money, the other 20, where if something happens, if the need is there right now, you can help and also create change there. So in the Springbok environment, when you've got a platform where people are listening, people are looking up to you, you realize, and I suppose I quickly realized in the Springbok setup, that it's not just about winning a game on Saturday. It's so much more than that. It's about having a platform where you can give smiles, where you can give hope, and where you can really make people happy. and hopefully, through all of that, it's almost creating that culture of, I'm doing. Sorry, I've actually got my son just
no problem.
In the background.
John,
if the listeners are hearing that, but he's probably just motivated as well to see the box.
Absolutely, he just wants the box to win on Saturday. But we're all working at home or living at work, as you call it, through the pandemic. So no problem. Carry on.
Yeah, exactly. So what I was saying is when you've got that responsibility of people looking up to you, and you being able to create the hope and create the joy, that's an extremely important responsibility, and that's even more important than just winning the test match, because it's about changing people's lives, creating an environment where people can be happy. So that sometimes I feel a unfair burden that the Springboks needs to carry. But, I think they do it wonderfully well, and certainly the team at the moment is the way that they are giving back, some of the individuals creating their own foundations and creating change through all of that. I think that's magnificent, and real kudos to all the guys involved there and what they stand for.
Speaking of the rugby now, Jean, you're part of that winning 2009 team, that first test match in Durban, that sea of red, the cacophony of it all. I can visualize it like it was yesterday. How much is the lack of fans inside the stadium now hurting the Boks, Jean? Is that something that you really draw on as a 24th man, so to speak?
Yeah, so Mark, again, I'm in an extremely fortunate position where I can, have this platform at Citadel and heading up our philanthropy division, and kind of do a little bit what I've done in the past when playing for the Springboks. I kind of have that platform, but I'm also still doing some work for SuperSport. So I was at the game and very fortunate to have been there. But it's weird. I don't think there's a better way to describe it. It's it certainly lacks that vibe that's in a stadium when it's packed. And I think from a Boks point of view, they miss that kind of support. You miss that kind of support just driving to the game and seeing all the people, and then when you arrive at the stadium, to hear the noise and see the support, it kind of just fuels the energy even more. So it is lacking, and it's a pity. But I think the fact that we are seeing the Lions series go ahead, we need to applaud that in an extremely difficult environment at the moment, and I think they've really managed it really well from a SARU point of view. And I think for us sometimes it's just being able to sit down on a Saturday, watch the rugby, and forget about all the other troubles that's in the world at the moment.
I've certainly been looking forward to it, along with so many others. And when the day arrived, yes, we were on the wrong side of the result, but you did get a sense that the Springbok team had put in an almighty effort, considering everything that had come before it. COVID bubbles, would it go ahead, wouldn't it, cancelled matches, and all of the difficulties. To say it was a 5-point game and then to have a look at some of those decisions. I don't want to get into what happened with the refereeing, but where do you think it's going to go from here? We've got the teams that were announced today. Jasper Visser at 8. It certainly looks like the Boks want to step up the physicality with a 6-2 split on the bench. And then on the Lions side, you've got, interestingly, Connor Murray at 9. I thought Elliot Daly, who's being replaced by Harris, was probably the right call after he got monstered by Lekanya but Addy Price had a good game at 9. Which way do you see it going on Saturday?
Yeah, look, I think firstly, again, I'm going to comment on something you said, in that, yes, the Boks lost on the weekend, but I think if there's anything I can ask the listeners is go watch the game again maybe, and just look at the effort and the sacrifice that every single Springbok player put in the way that they defended and really put their bodies on the line, and I think that in itself showed to me the commitment that they had to that cause. And yes, they were a little bit not as sharp as they should have been, but sometimes that happens. So it's from my point of view, this weekend, a couple of changes that has occurred for the Boks, I think is positive, in that we had a lot of success going into the World Cup with a 6-2 split on the bench with a bomb squad, and I think maybe last weekend the bomb squad didn't perform, or the reserves didn't perform the way that we've expected them in the past to do. So a couple of changes in terms of that, and going with a 6-2 split. Kitshoff and Frans Malherbe are starting in the front row, and hopefully the others when they come on, they can make a real impact. Jasper Visser, I'm really happy for him and the opportunity that he gets. So he brings a lot of physicality. He knows the English players very well as well, because he's playing in the Premiership. And then on the Lions side, I also thought Ali Price really played well at 9. Conor Murray, though, he started off at Munster when I was there, 10 years ago. So, he's an unbelievable player, and, I really rate him. So he definitely won't let the team down. I think maybe more of an approach by the Lions where the kicking game will be very important, and they'll try and create a kind of slow death for the box with a kicking game, and Connor's really good at that. And then Chris Harris at 13. I don't think Elliot Daly was too bad really, and that the combination between him and Robbie Henshaw worked. So it's an interesting decision that. And let's hope it's a decision that can play in the favour of the box, because I'm still the internal optimist, and I'd love to see a Bok win on the weekend.
Before I let you go, I've got to get your reaction to Simon Hill's Hugh Bladen, Gnaas Buerta and Joel impression that I said to you earlier. What did you think of it?
No, I think it's really good. I think he's the same guy that with the video the voice note that was going around last week as well, before the first test.
Yeah.
No, so he's very well, and some of the comments are actually very good. So I'm waiting for the day where he's gonna impersonate myself and Skulk maybe, or something like that. So then maybe my opinion will change.
There we go, Hilly. From the man himself, we're gonna get you to do a Jean de Villiers and Skulk impression next. Jean, thanks for your time. Cheers, mate.
Cool. Okay, ciao. Bye-bye.